Well, Nosferatu is here. And is it worth engaging in? Well, I do have a lot of respect for Robert, and part of the thing I try to do with my channel is signal boost auteur cinema, independent cinema. And although this is technically a corporate film, I do think you can say Robert does have a very distinct point of view. That said, I think Nosferatu definitely looks amazing and very promising, but I was kind of struck how it's not what people think it is. I think most people reported that it's a remake or a reimagining of the other Nosferatu film from a century ago. Yeah, Nosferatu is that old. So is it this film from 100 years ago, but with Robert's own style? I don't think it is. It seems like he's mixing the Nosferatu legend with Dracula and other vampire films. Now, if that's the case, not going to be disappointed. It's going to be more of a pastiche, but some people are saying, well, he's just updating Nosferatu. I don't think he is. I think this is sort of a mixture of different vampire legends and or myths and a lot of Dracula. Not the myth, the movie. And Dracula is one of my favorite films. It's a very weird stylistic film from Francis Ford Coppola back in the day. I really loved it, although it is not canonical. It really doesn't follow the book that much at all. So it's not clear what exactly we're getting. It seems like a mixture of everything: the Dracula of the movies, the Dracula of the books, and some Dracula that he's making up and calling it Nosferatu. And we kind of have a sly clue because Willem Dafoe literally played Nosferatu in another movie, and he's in this film. I don't think he'll be revealed as Nosferatu. So it just seems like a lot of fun and games with how movie history works and how these myths operate. And if it's going to be that, it still looks like it's going to be, so to speak, a fun ride. But for a horror classic, I will have to be honest. One major criticism I'd have, although this looks amazing, very strong cast, looks like it will be a classic, it doesn't feel too scary. Like I was never really frightened. I was like, oh, this is the vampire, and he's gonna frighten all of Europe. I just felt like, oh, okay, he's a guy in the dark, and he has vaguely shape shifting powers, which again is not true. Depending on the vampire myth you look at, vampires don't have those powers. The idea that vampires can do all these things, like we see in Buffy, they have super strength, they do this, that's not really true. The original myths really didn't do that. It's sort of like these very recent additions to vampires that they can have all these extraordinary abilities. But anyway, so if you're interested in an accurate vampire film, this is not it. Is this really even Nosferatu, an homage to the silent film? I don't think it is. It's just Robert using the name to give people a kind of all around vampire film. Maybe it'll be closer to Lost Boys than anything else. But it looks great. But will it be a great horror film? I don't think it will be. It'll probably be a very interesting character piece as well as a nice period film, which is definitely not, I think, what they're advertising. I think they're advertising this a full on horror film, but it doesn't look horrifying or terrifying. It just looks like, oh, it's a really interesting, pretty picture with some interesting people involved. But was I frightened for 1 second? No. This version of Dracula slash Nosferatu is not very terrifying. He's no Freddy Krueger. He's no Jason Voorhees. He's just guy shapeshifting in the shadows, I guess.